All right, we are in this thing today. We are in this thing today as well. Allowing you to come into the room from Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, wherever you're coming from, YouTube. Just come on in the room. Say hi, hello, hey, or hey, queen, hey, for some of my queenpreneurs out there. I'm so delighted to be before you today. We are going to get all the way into declaring it and not just wishing for it today. So I am excited to be before you today. Actually, what I wanted to be able to talk to you today is about being in the midst of those storms. Sometimes we are in the midst of storms in our life and we're not moving, we're not producing, we're not doing anything. So we're going to dive all the way into that after this brief message. All right, so we are back. So I am excited to be talking to you today about those storms and how not just to be wishing for it to be gone, but for to actually you actually to go through the storm and get to the other side. Earlier this week, I was talking to a lady friend of mine, fellow queenpreneur, and I was just telling her, like, hey, I haven't been out here doing the thing. I haven't been out here in these internet streams, out in these internet streets because I have been in a storm. I mean, from the north, the south, the east, and the west. If you have a storm, you probably can relate to what it is that I'm saying. But I was telling her that I really do appreciate her giving me grace in the midst of the storm. Because at that moment, I didn't realize that I have been sheltering in place. I didn't want to really talk to anybody. I didn't really want to go anywhere. I didn't want to do anything. Even though, I showed some of my presence, I wasn't fully engaged in all the things serving. So I just want to be able to speak to you in that point, and we're going to dive all the way into it today. So we're going to be talking about don't just wish for it, declare it. And I know a lot of times that when we are in the midst of a storm, and a lot of times sometimes it's emotional storms, sometimes it's physical storms, sometimes it's mental storms, sometimes it's financial storms. Whatever storm you may be going through, that is kind of the perspective of what we're going to be talking about when you're just thinking about what it is that you're going through right now. So, for me, when I was going through this storm, and actually, I feel like I've been going through it for at least about 6 months, I have been sheltering in place, not moving forward, not doing really anything, but just trying to protect myself. If I can just be honest with you all, I haven't wanted to do anything because I'm just like, how am I supposed to navigate these waters? Or how am I supposed to be a blessing to other people when I'm going through something myself? So, this is kind of what some of the steps that I've learned in retrospect. But I wanted to be able to share it with you because I'm just like, this may be a tool that you may be able to use in order to be able to move forward out of your storm. So, one of the things that I did want to share is sometimes our storms look different. So, as I had mentioned, I have been in a storm, and for some of them, for like one particular storm, it had to do with a business opportunity or a job situation. It was like a hurricane, okay? Like I literally needed to shelter in place in that particular thing. I could not move forward because it was just like I needed to protect myself. I really wanted to try to protect other people and just protect their hearts, protect their mental space so that they can get through. Um, but after a while, I was like, okay, I have to shift out of this, and how can I do it in a meaningful way and not harm anybody else. Some of my storms, like even another storm felt like a tornado. Like, like I can't really go out in this particular situation. I can't move backwards. I really just need to be still, stand still, and just watch it pass by. Another one, it was kind of like hell. Like it was just like, oh my gosh, really? Like, is this really happening to me right now? And it all just felt like this was the only I was the only one experiencing that. And I know for a fact, a lot of times when we're going through things, we're not the only ones going through that storm. Now, we may not, someone else may not be telling us that they're going through a storm too, but I promise you, they're probably going through a storm too, and they just haven't said anything. So I feel like I need to be able to speak on this point because a lot of times we are not talking about it, and even not talking about it keeps us there in the midst of the storm. So I want to bring out this point. As a matter of fact, before I bring out the next point, I want you to look at the screen and pinpoint one of those words that you feel like, MaDonna, I'm going through this right now. Like I am experiencing a twister right now, or a strong wind, or a gust, or a shower. Like, think about your situation right now. And some of it may just be rain. It's like it's not that big of a deal, but the rain is going to come, it's going to go. But which area of the words maybe, and for some of y'all might be in Texas and y'all just like, listen, it's a blaze over here, okay? Can a girl get a little bit of rain? It's like you over there probably praying for rain and wishing that it wasn't so hot. So just put in the comments which one you feel like is relevant to you, right? So which storm that you're in. You don't have to say, MaDonna, it's an emotional thing, it's financial or whatever. Just put on there, this is what it feels like, right? It feels like a gust. It feels like a shower. It feels like that. That's what I want to be able to have you look at right now. Let me pop that off of there. Because the first step in doing all of that is, number one, we have to prepare. And a lot of times I feel like we have not prepared for the storm, even though, like, when we've been in elementary school, middle school, high school, we were always taught how to shelter in place, what we're supposed to do, the proper steps, how to hide, where to hide, like it tells you to get it either in the hallway, away from this, or do this. But a lot of times we don't take that to heart to mean, like, in our emotional space or our financial space, like we need to be actually doing some preparation for some of our emotional states in order to be able to move from where we are now to where it is that we ultimately want to go to. And that is the next thing that I kind of want you to look at, right? Because this is where you are now. I want you to speak your truth and say where it is that you want to be. So looking at this page, where is it that you want to be? And these words actually are just the opposite of storms, just to be honest. And so when I was looking at that and I was thinking how I had to shelter in place from the storms of life that was happening to me, I was just saying to myself, I just really want to be in peace. Okay. Like that is all I had really was focusing on. I just want to be in peace. Like if I can just have some support, if I can just have stillness, if I can have protection and serenity, and the one that I love the most of all is order. If I can just have order, I love order and I love structure. So if I can have that, I would feel that even though I still may be coming out of the storm, I think it would be okay for me if I can just focus on these things. If I can just focus on these things. So I want you to put in the chat what area would you most like to have? And you could put your top three, right? So like my top three would be order, support, and peace. Like that's the three that I would probably say that I would want the most. So put that in the chat of like what yours is, and it may be different. You may be like, MaDonna, I'm in the midst of this storm, but this is not the three that I would want to. You might be like, girl, listen, I really need that money. Well, honestly, I guess that could kind of come into focus as support. Or you might be like, I really want a relationship. Well, whatever your three things are, put that down as your three things that you know, okay, even if I was in the midst of the storm and it's raining or it's blazing or whatever it is, if I can just get to this place, I would feel safe, I would feel secure, I would feel okay. So I want you to put that down because a lot of times we focus on the past or we focus on the actual storm, but we don't focus on where it is that we want to go. So we ultimately end up having the same thing that we don't want because all we're focusing on is what we don't want. So I want you to focus on what it is that you want. So the one thing that we're going to be talking about today is preparing for the storm, right? So even if you're in the midst of the storm, I want you to be prepared. And I want you to take note of where it is that you are. So you've already done that. But the real issue is getting ready now and decide what you need for your basic home survival, right? What do you really need? So I know I had that one slide that said peace and order, serenity, and all of those things. But what is it that you really, really need? What is it that you really need when you are, or even if you're in the midst of that storm right now? What is it that you need? And I want you to get clear on that because sometimes when we're in a relationship with other people, what they need and what you need are two different things. And sometimes because of expectations, you may feel like that person is not giving you what you need. But the honest truth is sometimes they're not giving it to you because they don't even have it to give to you, right? So I want to be able to give you that, and we're going to kind of talk about that in a minute. But I want you to understand that sometimes when you have a need, the person that you desire it from is not the person who can give it to you. Let me clue you in on that. I think in Psalms it mentions that God will supply all my need. Well, it didn't say your spouse. It didn't say your mother. It didn't say your father. It didn't say like a specific person. It said God. So I want you to be able to free that person because you may be holding someone else in bondage because you feel like that only that person is the person who can give you what you need. And I want you to be free from that today if that is what your thought process is, so that you can ultimately get what you desire, because God says that He will give you the desires of your heart. It's not your spouse, your mama, your daddy, whoever, your boss, or whoever it is that you think that you're supposed to be getting something from. It's not them, it's God. And, He can supply all of your needs. So I want you to keep that in mind. So now that you are getting clear about what you desire. One thing for me, one of the things that I kind of desired is ultimately what's in Galatians 5:22 when it's talking about love, peace, joy, and all of those things. But what we don't recognize is also in that scripture that talks about long suffering. So sometimes I know we're in that storm, but we want it to be over right now. But honestly, there may be something that we're supposed to learn in that situation, in that storm. So I want you, even for this, while we're preparing for the storm, even if we're in the midst of the storm or just coming out of the storm, is understand that there may be something that you're supposed to learn in that process. So make sure you are taking note of whatever it is that you're supposed to learn in this process. So don't be just trying to hurry up and rush through. This is not like elementary school. Like, okay, I done learned my ABCs. I got an A, so I get to go to next level. No, sit here and process whatever the storm is and say, what is this situation teaching me? Because if here's one thing I've learned, if you don't learn whatever it is that you're supposed to learn in that situation, you're going to have to you're going to have to go through the situation again with a different person. So you want to be able to sit back and take note and examine yourself and say, what can this situation teach me? And I know you're just like, well, MaDonna, I don't want to, this is hard. Like, that person did me this, and you want to place blame on someone else. And yes, blame and pushing that and, off on someone else feels good because now it's not on you. You feeling good now, your shoulders is lifted. But ultimately, if you don't learn the lesson, you'll just go to the next situation, and the next person is going to do something. You be like, and that person did something too. But that should be almost like, wait, that person did the same thing. So you are attracting something because there's a lesson that you needed to learn. So I want you to make sure that you learn whatever lesson that you need to learn in there. So I also wanted you to know, I wanted you to hear this this quote by Neville Goddard. So I'm putting this up because I really believe like this is going to help you shift your mindsets to be able to understand how to come out of your situation, like come through your storm, right? It says all you can possibly need or desire is already yours. Call your desires into being by imagining and feeling your wish fulfilled. So I love Neville Goddard. I love his books. I love his material. And he speaks a lot to the mindset. But this is going to help you understand that sometimes what we are desiring from someone else, we already have within ourselves. Sometimes we say we want love, I'm looking for love. Well, you really already have that. The level in which you probably are receiving is probably based on the level that you're probably giving it. So I know you're probably like, ooh, but I feel like shade. Okay. Well, take shelter. Okay. Because some of that means that you need to grow in that area for yourself. If you desire to have more of it, you have to grow in that area. So you may be like, okay, I need to grow in that area because it's already, you already have it within you. You just haven't unlocked it and unleashed it in order for you to have all that you desire. The other thing that I really wanted to share with you was the scripture in Luke. And it is a beautiful depiction of what we normally do in our life. Normally we show up like the disciples. In this particular scripture, I didn't put the whole entire scripture, but we show up like the disciples and we're just like, the rain is falling, we're gonna die. Like this situation is so, devastating and tragic that we're just like, we need to get some help. We call it 911, SOS, emailing people on our Facebook, social media, like, help us. I'm, over here struggling. And the truth be told is we have the same abilities that Jesus had when he arose and he rebuked the winds and the raging of the water. And they ceased and they calmed, right? So how when we were saying that in the beginning, what our situation looked like, tornado, hurricane, blaze and all the things, the snowstorms. But what we want is calm. And the only thing Jesus did was spoke to it. And a lot of times we are not, and I wanted to bring out that point that a lot of times we are not speaking to the storm in order for it to be peace and calm. We are speaking to it like, we're gonna die. Like, you coming at it with that, like you just want to keep that situation because you are focusing on what's happening. You're like the little horse with the little blinders, like you can't see anything. All you can see is just, the pain and the the hurt feelings, like how that person hurt you or this or that. But what you need to be thinking about is where you want to be. Like, where do you want to be? That's why I was saying write down where it is that where you are, because you need to be honest. Because sometimes we're just like, oh, I'm blessed and highly favored of the Lord. And then when you was just like on Facebook like 5 minutes ago, like he did this and she said that, so I'm gonna say this, and then you doing all of this, and it's so extra. Like, we don't even need to be doing all of that. You need to be saying, okay, they may have done that, but I'm going to forgive them because this is what ultimately my purpose, my God purpose is. And this is what I want to be able to achieve. Right. And so that's really what that's what we're talking about today. Like, we need to declare inner peace. We got to get our D.I.P on. And a lot of times the storms are raging because your D.I.P ain't right. You haven't declared inner peace. You over here declaring something else. That's why you got something else. But if you would have been declaring inner peace, then you would have had inner peace. And I have to say that even for myself. Yes, watching all the storms happen, but I didn't declare anything. So that's my thing. Like, I have not said that. I haven't said what I want. I'm just like, being still, peace being still. But no, I got to declare something. I have to remember who I am and whose I am, and then stand up as the person who I am and declare it. So I'm telling you today to do the same thing. Get your D.I.P out and declare inner peace. And then watch everything on the outside shift. So I know you're probably like, well, Madonna, I don't know how to do that. Well, we're going to talk about it, because how you get it is the only thing you need to do is declare it, like, period and point blank. You just need to get up there and declare it. Nobody else can do this for you. This is an inner job. Like, somebody else can't make you happy. Somebody else can't make you feel loved. Somebody else can't do that. You have to do this for yourself. You're wanting people to make you happy. You're wanting people to do like how Jesus did, and they can speak into your life. But most of this is your job. And that's what I want you to understand, that going through any type of storm or whatever, it's a lesson for you to learn. And it's also a lesson for you to speak up and get your D.I.P on and declare inner peace. Like, you need to be saying something. And I know you're probably like, well, Madonna, I don't even have a clue like what it is that I'm supposed to be saying. And that's okay. That is okay. Because that's the last thing that I want to be able to share with you, is that you need to write something down. And I want to challenge you to even say it for like the whole entire week. Challenge yourself before you go to bed, while you're walking on a treadmill, or going to the grocery store and just going up and down the aisles. Be getting this back into your mind. Like, no, I'm declaring this, and be clear about what it is that you want. And state it, and keep saying 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 it until you see it come to pass. Not you say it 1 or 2 times, because that's a lot of times what we say about God. Like, I've heard, in the church world, like, oh, I didn't believe God. You did believe God for 5 minutes, and you think something is about to pop off? It's not even about to go that way. You need to declare it. You need to declare you the king of your castle. You trying to make other people your king of your castle. That's double-minded. That's why it's not working. You think that their vision for your life is going, and they're going to come over here, have a vision for your life, and run your life too. Like, that's not going to happen. Only you have the power and authority to run your life. So that's why I'm challenging you to write down at least 1 to 3 different things that you want to declare. So I did write down a couple just to be able to share with you. I didn't put them on the screen, but I did write them down, and I wanted to share with you. So one of mine that I wrote is, I declare. So that's the first thing we're going to say. So if you say, but I don't even know how to get started, well, period and point blank, just put down on the page, I declare. Okay? Now, after that, it's really up to you. But mine was, I will use my energy and time to believe, not worry. And that may not be huge for you, but for me, that's huge. Because when all of these different things was coming at me, I could have just sat there and worried about all of it. Like, God, how is my bills gonna be paid? Like, where am I going to shift to, and like, what other business am I going to be connected to in order to make stuff run up over here in this place? Like, what's going to happen with my children? Like, I could have been worrying, but I'm just like declaring, no, I'm going to spend my energy and my time giving you thanks. As a matter of fact, just to be even more clear and more transparent, during all of this shift, there was a season when I had zero in the bank account. Zero. I mean, nothing. And I have not had that in, oh my God, in so many decades. Like, I don't even remember what that feel like. But I just sat there and I looked into the account and I was just like, Father, I'm just going to give you thanks and praise because I know that you supply all of my needs. And every time, because I was like in there, I was like, I'm going to look in there today. Let me see if something popped off. Let me see if, a client have processed their payment or whatever. I'm going to see if I have some money coming in at all. And for a few days, there was nothing. And the thing that I had to give God thanks and praise for was lights still on, I have kitchen full of food, gas tank filled. Like, I'm just like, every time I looked at it, I remembered, okay, God, thank you. I don't even have nothing. You supplied all my need. I don't even have a need right now. And I just had to be honest and give God thanks and praise. And so that was something for me. I feel like, wow, I've mastered that. Like, boom, like even if that happened and boom, like, God, you still taking care of me. So I give God thanks and praise for that. But my declaration, like we're talking about, I declare I will use my energy and time to believe. What is it that you're believing God for? Right? Is it peace? Was it serenity? Like, what are you believing him for? So that was my declaration. Another one I said, I declare I am open to challenge that aligns with my God purpose. I am open. Sometimes, different people come into your life and it's just like, you just like, don't even try. Like, don't come over here. But I had to position myself, God, I'm open to my God purpose. How is this person is supposed to help shift me to my next level or whatever it is that they're supposed to help me with? And my last one is like, I declare my heart overflows with gratitude for all, and my clients generously pay premium prices to work with me. Sometimes you have to also think about your business whenever you're in this space, because sometimes that can give you some feeling of a storm. So you want to be able to speak to that, not just your financial, not just your mental, your spiritual, but you also want to be able to speak to your prophetically, to your future, to your, to your business, to your family, and all of those things. So that's what I wanted to leave you with. I love you, and I'm so excited that you were here with me today. So please, if you have any comments or questions, please drop them in the chat. I would love to be able to chit chat with you and be able to fellowship with you. Until next time, peace and be blessed.